Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Usma Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna and welcome to all the devotees online. Thank you very much for your kind presence as we continue to associate with Srimad Bhagavatam. And this chapter is actually entitled Visions of the Creation. All right. Let us start. Om Jnanatmivandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapada Kamalam Shri Kurung Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Vada Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Pastata Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura Bhaktavanda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastra Piyusha Sarva Vaireka Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Loka Tritprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidando Didatitya Shri Krishna Parivartita O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churn from ocean of all Vedic scriptures, O most prominent fruit of all the Vedas, O you enriched with the jewels of all O you enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O light breath of the Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna who has returned amongst us. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshasharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisance unto you. By reading you untainted transcendental bliss, for your syllables rain pure love God upon your reader. You always to be served by everyone for your incarnation of Lord Krishna. Mad ekabandhu mad sangim mad guru mad mahadana mad nishtaraka mad bhagya mad ananda namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer my spirit respectful obeisance unto you. Sadhu sadhu tadaina tini chochatara kahanamun chagatatin mam premna ritkatayospura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O give us saintly surround saintly, of uplift to the very flow of heaven. Please become manifest my heart. Please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest my heart, my throat, accompany pure love of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Yathonvayaditarataschatte Swabhignaswarat Tene Brahma Hidayadi Kavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yathavinimayo Yatrati Sargom Risha Damna Swena Sadan Nirastakoakam Satyam Param Dhimaihi. O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna, because he's the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, and destruction in manifested universes. He's directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he's independent because there's no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by illusory representation of what is seen in fire, land seen on water. Only because of him the material universe is temporarily manifested by the reactions of three modes of nature, appear factual although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in transcendental abode, which is forever free from loser representation in material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Prainalpaisha sabya kala visminyuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagyo padrata. All another one in the signage of Kali, many but short lives, their quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Narayana Maskritya Narachevam Naratamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Mutirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the person of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Savaipum Saparodharmo Yatho Bhaktira Dokshaje Aitukiya Pratiyata Yatma Suprasiddhati, the supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service. Loving devotionals under the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated, uninterrupted, completely satisfy the self. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Praj Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prajo Prayojita Jaya Janayat Shusavairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ohitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires causes of knowledge and detachment from the world. Vedanti tattva tattvas vidam tattva tattvam yach gnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan. Shri Shri Shoshadananasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Shrinvutam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ryadantastoya Badrani Vidunoti Suritsatam. Shri Krishna, the person of Godhead, who is Paramatma, Super Soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment. From the heart of the devotees develop the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. Nastaprashu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Tomasloker Bhakti Bhavati Nashtiki. By regular attendance in the class on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart almost completely destroyed. In loving service unto the person of God who is praised, what transcendent song is established as an irrevocable fact. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Vyam Swadharmam Parinishtaya Janma Lava Parampum Samante Narayana Smriti. The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duties to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Akama sarvakamo va moksha kama udariditi vreda bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. A person who has broad intelligence, whether he be full of all material desires, without material desires, without any material desire, or design liberation, must by all means worship the supreme personality of Godhead. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We continue Srimad Bhagavatam based on the teachings of Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Hare Krishna and welcome back after a while. So, anyone has any feedback of what you can remember we covered last time? Also, just let me know if my background is showing properly or upside down. I just noticed that if I see it normal, you see it upside down. You see it upside down, if I see it upside down, you see normal. So much for Zoom. It's background. It's okay. All right. Yeah, interesting. Because I noticed I changed it to see, okay, it's this upside down. And then the audience was seeing it upside down and nobody said it was upside down. When I reviewed the video, oops, this is upside down. Okay. All right. So we are covering, we covered the conversation between Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord, and Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma appeared in this world, in this creation, and he was trying to find what he's meant to do. When he realized he needed to perform austerities, he realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord appeared to him. He prayed to the Lord and he asked the Lord to be empowered. And then the Lord gave some very wonderful instructions that he should not be in anxiety, he should not be depressed, he should focus on his activities, uh, perform his activities as devotional service, as an offering to the Supreme Lord. And in this way, he will be protected and he would see the Supreme Lord in through all his activities. So in this way, the Lord blessed him and unmanifested. So that is the place where we are now. Brahma is now going to perform his activities of creation. Nonetheless, says Hare Krishna Prabhu, Krishna's body is spiritual, non-material, and he existed before creation. We heard Lord Brahma. Naturally, Lord Brahma, he's realized he's created for creation. He's the second creator. So naturally, if he's the second creator and right now he has not created anything and the Supreme Lord appears, the conclusion is Krishna's there even before creation. The material world has birth, has a beginning, but the Supreme Lord exists eternally. Otherwise, the Supreme Lord would not be able to present himself to Brahma. And why can the Lord do that? Because his body is totally spiritual. He does not have a body made of matter. Completely spiritual body, which exists beyond time, past, present, and future. So we're going to be covering the divisions of creation. Text 1 to 3, Vidura inquires about Brahma's creation. And 4 to 9, Lord Brahma creates the 14 worlds. Text 1. Vidura vacham antarhite bhagavati brahmaloka pitamaha prajasharascha katidam daihikir manasir vibhu. Sri Vidura said, O great sage, please let me know how Brahma, the grandfather of the planetary inhabitants, created the bodies of the living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we're going to hear about the creation extensively. We covered some of the aspects of creation in second canto. Even in the first canto, second canto, we're covering third canto, right up to the fifth canto, it is there. And we repeatedly made the point, it's there for us to understand the Supreme Lord in relation to creation. So, Vidura is inquiring about Lord Brahma's creation. Text 2. Ye cha me Bhagavan prishtash tvayartha bahuvittamam tanvadaswam nupurve viena chindina sarva samshayam. O greatly learned one, kindly eradicate all my doubts and let me know of all that I have inquired from you from the beginning to the end. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Vidura asked all relevant questions of Maitreya because he knew well that Maitreya was the right person to reply to all the points of his inquiries. One must be confident about the qualification of his teacher. One should not approach a layman for replies to specific spiritual inquiries. Such inquiries, when replied to with imaginative answers by the teacher, are a program for wasting time. So, perfect example. Maitri Muni is perfectly qualified. He has Parasar Muni as a spiritual master. He's a friend of Vyasadeva. And he is perfectly qualified to share the answers in relation to spiritual inquiries. In the material world, unfortunately, people get confused of what spirituality is. And in most cases, they discuss spirituality minus the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even though they present themselves as spiritualists, teachers, spiritual teachers, but actually they cannot help the living entities, unfortunately. They cannot help those who are inquiring. Why? Because they themselves are speculating, or do not have the complete picture, or they're not coming in a bona fide line. So in this way, they basically wasting the inquirer's time. And the inquirer, he's in ignorance. He doesn't even know himself the qualification of a teacher. So he's no better. Now, we would have been in the same position. Somehow or other, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his followers, we have come in contact with Prabhupada's books. And because we have come in contact with Prabhupada, who is authentic, coming in a bona fide line, presenting the knowledge of Krishna as it is, then our inquiries can be satisfied. And we may take it as normal. We got Prabhupada's books. If we need something, we can obviously go reference his books. But it is exceptionally rare to be able to have someone that can answer all our questions and direct us spiritually through his books, through his writings. Even when Prabhupada is not physically here in his Vani form, in his Vapu form, in his Vani form, he's able to direct and guide. That is very, very extraordinary. Otherwise, we will be wasting a lot of our time. Three. Suto vacham evam saschoditastena shatra ko shar ravir muni prita pratyaha tan prasanam riti stana atha bhargava. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidura, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after another. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The phrase Sutta Uvacha, Sutta Goswami said, appears to indicate a break in the discourse between Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami. While Sukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, Sutta Goswami was only one member of a large audience. But Sutta Goswami was speaking to the sages of Navishwarya, headed by the sages of Shonaka, headed by the sage Sonaka, a descendant of Sukadeva Goswami. This, however, does not make any substantial difference in topics under discussion. So we know Bhagavatam is a dialogue between a dialogue, including a dialogue, including a dialogue. This is how, if there's a question, then the speaker will not just reply, but the speaker will say, okay, this is a good question. Actually, this question was asked by Sukadeva Goswami or Maharaj Parikshit. And Sukadeva Goswami answered, and Sukadeva Goswami answered by sharing a discussion between the Lord and Brahma. In this way, they're sharing different discourses, different conversations. And immaterial of who is narrating that topic, it is all absolute. Why? Because the knowledge is absolute. So immaterial of where that knowledge is coming down, at what point in time, and who's speaking, because it is the Supreme, it is all about the Supreme Lord. And the knowledge about the Supreme Lord is eternal. Therefore, this discussion, this knowledge, the topics are all perfect. Anytime we hear them, they have full value. Similarly, again, Srila Prabhupada's books are meant to go on for next 10,000 years. So it doesn't matter for the next 10,000 years or further, anyone that comes in contact with Srila Prabhupada's books will be able to be benefited from this knowledge. 4. Maitro Vacha Virishcho Pita Tata Chakre Divyam Varsha Satam Tapa Atmanya Atmanam Aveshya Yataha Bhagavanaja. The greatly learned sage Maitreya said, "O Vidura, Brahma thus engaged himself in penances for 100 celestial years, as advised by this personality of Godhead, and applied himself to devotional service to the Lord." Purport. That Brahma engaged himself for the personality of God in Narayan means that he engaged himself in the service of the Lord. That is the highest penance one can perform for any number of years. There is no retirement from such service, which is eternal and ever encouraging. So Brahma, under the instruction of the Supreme Personality of God, started to render devotional service. And Prabhupada is making the point that even though it's stated in the verse that he was performing tapas or penance, highest or performing penance, that penance is the penance of devotional service. And this penance of devotional service that one performs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not have a retirement time period. It's not like in the material world, one has to now retire. In spiritual life, in devotional service, there is no retirement. Why? Firstly, because it is eternal. And secondly, it is ever encouraging. In the material world, it is temporary. Our work is temporary. The result is temporary. And it is always discouraging. Just like you find in the material world, the employer and employee, the employee is basically, one is working and trying to make sure he gets more and more salary, whereas the other person is receiving the work and making sure that they pay less and less salary. So this relationship between employer and employee is a struggle, each trying to extract the maximum at the same time, not possible at all. And each year, the bar goes higher and higher and higher, and one has to keep up with the ever-increasing demands. So naturally, the way it is designed, it is very difficult, very challenging, very stressful. And this is why at a certain point in time when somebody retires, they get relief, but at the same time, because they're not engaged in devotional service, that relief is temporary and eventually brings other challenges. Whereas when we understand we are eternal servants of Krishna, we're meant to engage in devotional service. And when we begin to engage in devotional service, then that service becomes eternal. Then there's no retirement. In fact, we want to increase that service. We want to deepen that relationship of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We want to increase the realization of that service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We want to make that service more sweeter, more deeper, with greater affection. So in this way, our journey, our relationship with the Supreme Lord is really an eternal journey. 5. Tadvilokyabja samputo vayuna yad adishtita padmam ambas chatat kala krit virye nakampitam. Thereafter, Brahma saw that both the lotus on which he was situated and the water on which the lotus was growing were trembling due to a strong, violent wind. Purport. The material world is called illusory because it is a place of forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. Thus, one engaged in the Lord's devotional service in the material world may sometimes be very much disturbed by awkward circumstances. There is a declaration of war between the two parties, the illusory energy and the devotee. And sometimes the weak devotees fall victim to the onslaught of powerful illusory energy. Lord Brahma, however, was sufficiently strong by the causeless mercy of the Lord, and he could not be victimized by the material energy, although it gave him cause for anxiety when it managed to totter the existence of his position. Now, this is very instructive. Lord Brahma is just beginning to create the material creation. And right at the onset, right at the beginning, he has not even created all the 14 planetary systems. He has not even created everything within the material creation. And already the material energy is this creating a disturbance. The ocean is violent. The lotus that he's sitting on is shaking. And Prabhupada is making the point that the illusory energy, which is eternally there, right at the beginning, is causing disturbance. So if the material energy right at the beginning of creation is causing disturbance, how can we expect that it will not cause any disturbance throughout creation and even at the end of creation? It is the nature of this material world to present disturbing, awkward circumstances. As devotees who are practicing, we need to develop resilience. Now, we can develop material resilience, but that material resilience may not protect us completely. We must have a very solid, strong foundation of spiritual practice. Strong sadhana, strong practice, strong association. When our spiritual life is strong, then we are protected. So it's not that a devotee who comes to spiritual life will not experience challenges and difficulties. Those who come to spiritual life and those who don't come to spiritual life, both will experience awkward circumstances. There's Adi-Devic, there's Adi-Bhautik, and Adi-Atmic suffering. Suffering caused by the body and mind, suffering caused by other living entities, and suffering caused by natural calamities. This will always be there. It'll never cease to exist. Even in an advanced stage, even as a pure devotee. You will always be in some difficulty. We see Srila Prabhupada went through so many difficulties. Difficulties through his health, difficulties in preaching, difficulties with other people. But Prabhupada was never waned. Prabhupada was never deterred, just like Lord Brahma. He was sufficiently strong. So we need to be sufficiently strong. Now, please type in the chat if there is an awkward situation and I am not sufficiently strong in that circumstance, what should I do? Yeah, Brahma was sufficiently strong by the cause of the mercy of the Lord, and therefore he could not be victimized. We may not be sufficiently strong, and we may find ourselves in a situation that is a cause of anxiety, that is a cause of victimization, that is a cause of disturbance. It's an awkward position, and I'm right in the middle of that situation. What should I do? Mother Les says, pray for strength from Krishna. Good. So we can try to pray to Krishna for strength. Now, depending on the type of awkward situation, so prayer definitely is one way to connect again, to gain direction, to gain strength. Good. Shama says, surrender to Krishna. The more we surrender, the more Krishna protects. Shamananda says, get help. Pray to Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, chant the holy names. Yes. Seek help. Seek guidance. There is ample guidance if one seeks. Bible says, seek and thou shalt find. So if you want guidance, it's there. Then, otherwise, thereafter, accept whatever happens as His mercy. Very good. So if one is in a situation, one can decide to leave that situation depending on what it is, right? Nobody is saying you should always stay in that situation. By your actions, you can try to relieve the awkward situation. If you cannot relieve the situation, you can pray to Krishna to give you the strength to overcome that situation. And ultimately, no matter what happens, if we see it, let's say we try to move away from that situation and we still cannot alleviate that awkward situation, then we go through the situation and we accept this is Krishna's arrangement, this is Krishna's mercy. Take that as a lesson, learn from it. Yes, that I should not come back to this material world. So in this way, we can learn from every situation, ultimately to deepen our relationship to Krishna. We should not have this utopian concept that as soon as I come to Krishna consciousness, as soon as I get initiated, as soon as I chant Hare Krishna, everything will be rosy. Everything will be perfect. Everything will move, so nicely, so wonderfully. Nope. That only happens in the spiritual world. In the spiritual, there is perfect situations and there's awkward situations. The perfect situations give bliss and the awkward situations give bliss. They're all both designed to give pleasure to Krishna. In the material world, you get perfect situations, materially perfect situations, and you get awkward situations. Even the perfect situations eventually lead to distress, and even the awkward situations lead to distress. So we must have the proper understanding that this is the material world. We're going to experience awkward situations, and we need to be spiritually strong to survive, to overcome the challenge. And Prabhupada gave the example, the best way to overcome the awkward, the turbulent, the challenges of this vast ocean of material existence that's tossing us in this vast ocean is to stay on the deck of Krishna consciousness. We are on the ship of Krishna consciousness, and we want to stay on the ship of Krishna consciousness, even though there may be many reasons, and many people may be very vocal to jump off the ship. But we should be intelligent and understand, why am I on the ship? What is the destination of the ship? What can I experience on the ship? And even though the ship may be tossing to and fro, and the ocean water may even come on the deck, I do not jump in the ocean. I stay fixed on the ship and allow the ship to take me to my destination. So in this way, we need to develop resilience through the process of Krishna consciousness. This will give you a more solid grounding to be able to sustain one's practice without becoming derailed by material energy. 6. Tapasaye dhamma nena vidyaya chatma samstaya vrida vignana balo nya padva yum samambasha. Long penance and transcendental knowledge of self-realization had matured Brahma in practical knowledge, and thus he drank the wind completely along with the water. Purport. Lord Brahma's struggle for existence is a personal example of the continued fight between the living entity in the material world and the illusory energy called Maya. Beginning from Brahma down to this age, the living entities are struggling with the force of material nature. By advanced knowledge in science and transcendental realization, one can try to control the material energy which works against our endeavors. And in the modern age, advanced material scientific knowledge and penance have played very wonderful roles in controlling the powers of the material energy. Such control of material energy, however, can be most successfully carried out if one is a soul surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and carries out his order in the spirit of loving transcendental service. So Prabhupada is giving credit to science, scientific advancement, because scientific advancement helps control matter to some degree. Just like if it's very cold, then a scientific instrument is created, which is an air conditioner. And that air conditioner can now increase the heat in the room. We have so many vehicles to go from point A to point B. We have so many gadgets that help us perform our daily activities. So in so many ways, right now we are using technology to communicate. This was not possible previously. If you want to hear a Krishna Katha, Bhagavatam class, you had to go to the sadhu, go to the hermitage, go to an ashram and sit and hear. You can't sit from your home. You can't sit in your house and decide, okay, let me tune in. Nope. No such thing. And those who are not able to tune in for whatever reason are able to get the recording. How wonderful. So, yes, in that sense, material science has many, many benefits. And we are able to control material energy. However, the best form of control to be fully successful is ultimately surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the best way. Why? Because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Etam Taranti, that if one surrenders to me, here's me, one surrenders to me, then automatically one will be able to surrender, overcome material energy. So by cultivating surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are ultimately going to a scenario, a situation where we will overcome all forms of difficulties, all forms of challenges. This is the best way to overcome all difficulties. You'll find very often Prabhupada in his talks, he would boldly claim that the four root causes of suffering, the four problems of life, is birth, death, disease, and old age. And human life means to cure birth, death, disease, and old age. So Prabhupada is making a bold claim that these are the problems and human life means to solve. Now somebody could challenge, well then, if challenge Prabhupada, so are you solving it? Are you solving birth, death, disease, and old age? And Prabhupada would say, yes. How are we solving it? We're solving birth, death, disease, and old age by surrendering to Krishna, returning back home to the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world, there's no birth, death, disease, and old age. And because there's no birth, death, disease, and old age in the spiritual world, I've solved the four biggest problems that plague human society that is in this material world. So that is the best way to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You cannot perfect your life or solve all problems without surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that surrender has to be in the spirit of loving service. Not surrender with fear, out of fear. Not surrender out of material motivation, but surrender out of loving devotional service. I love to surrender. So that is an advanced stage, but we need to come to that level. Therefore, as we go through the Bhagavatam is sharing with us the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his powers, his qualities, his character, his knowledge. So the more we associate with the Supreme Person of Godhead in these different features, his activities, we begin to develop an attachment to Krishna. Attachment of surrender, an attachment of falling in love with Krishna, an attachment of trying to please Krishna, attachment of trying to remember Krishna. And as we progress slowly but surely, this deepens our surrender and eventually matures into full surrender. There are so many stories or pastimes of the Lord and his pure devotees. Consider, for example, Sudama. The relationship of friendship. Sudama had the relationship of friendship and he was fully surrendered to that relationship. And the Lord accepted Sudama fully as a friend and reciprocated perfectly as a friend in all situations, all scenarios. So like that, we also want to progress on this path and mature our relationship with Krishna. At least have the intention to know that this is my goal. I want to mature. I want to deepen. I want to strengthen that relationship. I don't want to be satisfied with just knowing Krishna is God and I'm his servant. Full stop. That's glorious. That's good, but not good enough. I need to take it further. Just like Lord Brahma. He's not just satisfied with just doing his service and that is all. No, he wants deeper and deeper relationship, deeper and deeper realization. 7. Tadvilokya vi yad vyapi pushkaram yad adishtitam anena lokan pragli nan kalpitasim kalpitam smitya chintayat. Thereafter, he saw the lotus on which he was situated was spread throughout the universe. And he contemplated how to create all the planets which were previously merged in that very same lotus. So the lotus stem has all the planets within it. So here we see Brahma is now obviously going through the process of creation. At the same time, while he's going through the process of creation, he asked the Lord to be protected from becoming proud, from falling up, on the wayside, from falling down. And the Lord blessed him that if he stays fixed in his service, he'll be protected. And right from the beginning, we're hearing about the challenges that he's going through, and he has to now overcome all the challenges as he is creating. Prabhupada in the Purport says, the seed of all the planets in the universe were impregnated in the lotus on which Brahma was situated. All the planets were already generated by the Lord, and all the living entities were also born in Brahma. The material world and the living entities were all already generated in seedling forms by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Brahma was to disseminate the same seedlings all over the universe. The real creation is therefore called Sarga, and later on, manifestation by Brahma is called Visarga. So very clear, Brahma is not creating the living entities. Brahma is simply engineering the creation, using the material energies, engineering the creation, and then disseminating the living entities to whoever they need to be according to their past karma. The previous cycle of destruction allowed all the living entities to go into Mahavishnu. Then creation starts again, and the living entities that are meant to be in that particular universe are impregnated into that universe, and Lord Brahma becomes the agency to then disseminate the living entities through the universe in different situations, different scenarios. 8. Padma kosham tadavishyam bhagavad karma ko chodita ekam vibhan shikt urudam trida bhavyam dvi saptadam. Thus engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of God, Lord Brahma entered into the world of the lotus, and as it spread all over the universe, he divided it into 3 divisions of the worlds, and later into 14 divisions. So the 3 Bhur-Bhuhaswava, basically lower planets, middle planets, and upper planet. They're the three divisions. You could say heavenly planets, earthly planets, and hellish planets. And there are 14 divisions within the planets, at least 14 main divisions. 9. Etavas jiva lokasya samsta veda samaritam dharmasya yanimitasya vipaka paramestya. So Lord Brahma is the most exalted personality in the universe because of his causeless devotional service unto the Lord in mature transcendental knowledge. He therefore created all the 14 planetary divisions for inhabitation by the different types of living entities. So the 14 planetary systems, they're basically like different floors of the universe. And the different floors are there for different living entities qualified for that floor. There are different gradations of living entities. And according to the different gradations associated with the modes of material nature, they have access to different planetary systems. It's not that one living entity can enter into all 14. No. According to their nature, according to their qualities, according to their spiritual evolution, they will reside in one of the planets. And as they practice, they can evolve to higher dimensions or degrade to lower dimensions. Purport. The Supreme Lord is the reservoir of qualities of the living entities. The conditioned souls in the material world reflect only part of those qualities, and therefore they are sometimes called pratibimbas. These pratibimba living entities, as parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, have inherited different proportions of his original qualities. And in terms of the inheritance of these qualities, they appear as different species of life, and are accommodated in different planets according to the plan of Brahma. Brahma is the creator of the three worlds, namely the lower planets called the Patala Lokas, the middle planets called Bhur Lokas, and the upper planets called Swarga Lokas. Still higher planets such as Mahaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and Brahmaloka do not dissolve in the devastating water. This is because of the causeless devotional service rendered unto the Lord by their inhabitants, whose existence continue up to the end of Divya. Where is Divya Paradra time, when they are generally liberated from the chain of birth and death in the material world. So different planets are there, and the highest planets from Mahaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, Brahmaloka, where there are more exalted saintly persons staying, those planets are not destroyed by the devastating waters. When the creation, and we're going to cover in these verses also, they will be hearing about the different types of destructions. So when we come to that, we'll see how different parts of the creation are destroyed at different intervals. But these 4 planets, Mahaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and Brahmaloka, they never destroyed. 10. Vidura Vacha Yatata Bahurupasya Harerat Bhuttakar Karmana Kalakyam Lakshanam Brahman Yatavarnaya Naha Prabhu. Vidura inquired from Mitra, O my Lord, O greatly learned sage, kindly describe eternal time, which is another form of the Supreme Lord, the wonderful actor. What are the symptoms of that eternal time? Please describe them to us in detail. So now Vidura wants to know about time. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, time I am the destroyer of all. So the time factor is really something in this creation that, at least in the material creation, that is very powerful, very destructive. Every facet of one's existence is destroyed by the power of time, besides one's spiritual identity. So Vidura wants to know about time. Purport. The complete universe is a manifestation of varieties of entities, beginning from the atom up to the gigantic universe itself. And all is under the control of the Supreme Lord in his form of color or eternal time. Controlling time has different dimensions in relationship to particular physical embodiments. There is a time for atomic dissolution and a time for universal dissolution. There is a time for the annihilation of the body of the human being, and there is a time for the annihilation of the universal body. Also, growth, development, and resultant actions all depend on the time factor. Vidura wanted to know in detail the different physical manifestations of their times of annihilation. So practically every aspect of our life is governed by time. Nothing in this material world is outside the purview and the control of time. So it's a very powerful force. And this force we know is impregnated, Kala Shakti is impregnated by the Supreme Lord at the time of creation. So it's Krishna's very powerful energy. In the most minutest form, there is time, in the form of the atom, and in the largest manifestation of matter in this universe, there is time throughout. And every facet in between, every aspect, every activity is governed by time. So Kala is very, very powerful, and we're going to hear about the time factor. 11. Maitro Vacha Guna Vyatikara Karo Nirveshesho Pratishtita Purushastad Udadanam Atmanam Lila Yashrajat. Maitra said, eternal time is the primal source of the interactions of the three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless, and it works as the instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in the material creation. I'll read it again. Eternal time is the primal source of the interactions of the three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless. So if there is, like they say, right, in the material world, the only constant is change. But actually the only constant is time. It is the only eternal factor that exists. It is unchangeable, it is limitless. And it works as the instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in material creation. This material creation, from creation, maintenance, destruction, is all part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastimes. And ultimately, it is there to facilitate the Supreme Lord's pastimes. So the more we surrender our time to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the more we will begin to experience this unchangeable and limitless nature of time. The more we waste time, And the more we do not use time in the service of the Supreme Lord, whether directly or indirectly, whether for our Krishna consciousness or for others' Krishna consciousness, we will experience the destructive nature of time. Purport. The impersonal time factor is the background of the material manifestation as the instrument of the Supreme Lord. It is the ingredient of assistance offered to the material nature. So before the creation, when Mahavishnu is glancing at Durga, in that glance that forms the glance of Shambhu is the living entities, and also it's the potency and the energy of the Supreme Lord. The Icha Shakti, the Kala Shakti, the different energies are impregnated. And one of the Shaktis that is impregnated is the time factor. And that time factor is, as Prabhupada is writing here, the ingredient of assistance offered to material nature. Material nature cannot function without the Supreme Lord. But the Supreme Lord never comes in contact with material nature. So how does she perform her function? She performs her function through the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one of those energies is the time factor. No one knows where time began and where it ends. And it is time only which can keep a record of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material manifestation. This time factor is the material cause of creation and is therefore a self-expansion of the personality of Godhead. This time factor is the material cause of creation and is therefore a self-expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Time is considered the impersonal feature of the Supreme, impersonal feature of the Lord. The time factor is also explained by modern men in various ways. Some accept it almost as it is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. For example, in Hebrew literature, time is accepted in the same spirit as a representation of God. It is stated therein, God, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets. Metaphysically, time is distinguished as absolute and real. Absolute time is continuous and is unaffected by the speed or slowness of material things. Time is astronomically and mathematically calculated in relation to the speed, change, and life of a particular object. Factually, however, time has nothing to do with the relativities of things. Rather, everything is shaped and calculated in terms of the facility offered by time. Time is the basic measurement of the activity of our senses, by which we calculate past, present, and future. But in factual calculation, time has no beginning and no end. Chanakya Pandit says that even a slight fraction of time cannot be purchased with millions of dollars, and therefore even a moment of time lost without profit must be calculated as the greatest loss in life. Time is not subject to any form of psychology, nor are the moments objective realities in themselves, but they are dependent on a particular experience. They but they are dependent on particular experiences. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami concludes that the time factor is intermixed with the activities, actions, and reactions of the external energy of the Lord. The external energy or material nature works under the superintendent of the time factor as the Lord himself. And that is why material nature appears to have produced so many wonderful things in the cosmic manifestations. Bhagavad Gita 9:10 confirms this conclusion as follows. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam hetu na nena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. So Prabhupada is sharing with us this. Firstly, time factor is the impersonal feature of Krishna. It's Krishna, but Krishna in an impersonal form. So when we are experiencing time in any form or shape, according to our experience, we can always remember that this is Krishna. Prabhupada would be very particular about how he would manage his time. Why? Because he saw it as Krishna's energies, as Krishna's energy. Just like when Prabhupada would see water dripping, he would go and close the tap. Why? Because he saw it as Krishna's energy. So time also is Krishna's energy. It's Krishna's potencies. And therefore, Prabhupada would be very time, yes. Prabhupada would be very particular about time. And because Prabhupada would see time as Krishna's energy, he would be very conscientious of how he is using his time, not wasting time, using time in the service of Krishna. In this way, setting the example, how we should also try our best to use all our time in the service of Krishna, not waste time, respect others' time, and in this way, take advantage of time. Srila Jiva Goswami is concluding that time is intermixed with activities. You can't separate as we mentioned, every single aspect of our existence is controlled by this time. It governs, it controls everything. Every aspect is actually controlled by time. So if you see Krishna in time, that means you will never be separated from Krishna, because time is in every aspect of creation. And therefore, if you try to elevate your consciousness by remembering this, then you will remember Krishna every single moment, at every single point in time. In the good times, you'll remember Krishna. In the bad times, you'll remember Krishna. At birth, you remember Krishna. At death, you remember Krishna, because every facet of our existence is controlled by time, and time is Krishna himself. It's Krishna's potency, it's Krishna's energy. 12. Vishvam vai brahmatan matram samstitam vishnumayaya ishvarena prachi chinnam kalena vyaktamurtina. This cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of kala, which is the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Lord. It is situated as the objective manifestation of the Lord under the influence of the same material energy of Vishnu. Purport. As stated previously by Narad, before Vyaste, Bhagavatam 1.5.20, idam hi vishvam bhagavan ivetara. This manifested material world is the same personality of Godhead. But it appears to be something else beyond or besides the Lord. It appears so because of its being separated from the Lord by means of color. It is something like a tape recorder voice of a person who is now separated from the voice. As the tape recorder is situated on the tape, as the tape recording is situated on the tape, so the whole cosmic manifestation is situated on the material energy and appears separate by means of color. The material manifestation is therefore the objective manifestation of the Supreme Lord and exhibits his impersonal feature so much adored by the impersonalist philosophers. So here we see similar verses like this throughout the Vedas, where the material energy, the material world, is seen to be non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the mistake that people make is, oh yes, the material world is God's the material world is God. It's a manifestation of God. So they take it that the material world is a manifestation and is God, but at the exclusion of the fact that God has his own personal form. So yes, Krishna can appear in the form of material creation, but that doesn't make Krishna only that. Krishna has his own supreme spiritual form, blissful Satchidanand Vigraha form. That is the distinction that the Bhagavatam is presenting. And the impersonalists miss that. They get stuck on these verses where it clearly describes that the material creation is the energy of God, it's a manifestation of God. And then they exclude the fact that Krishna actually has a supreme form that is beyond the material creation. 13. Yatedanim tattagrekcha paschad apyetat idrisham. This cosmic manifestation is as it is now. It was the same in the past, and it will continue in the same way in the future. So the material creation, or you could say the material cosmic manifestation in its complete whole, is eternal. It manifests as creation, sustenance and destruction, but the material nature is eternal. And Krishna and that's because it's Krishna's energies. Krishna's energies are eternal. So therefore, part of Krishna's energies is the material nature, and therefore material nature is also eternal. The living entities are also Krishna's energies, and therefore the living entities are also eternal. And then all of Krishna's expansions are also eternal, coming from Krishna. So in this way, every aspect that is manifesting from Krishna has the qualities connected to Krishna. And in this case, the quality of eternality. Purport. There is a systematic schedule for the perpetual manifestation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material world, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.8. Bhutva gramam imam krishnam avasham prakrite vasat. As it is created now, and it will be destroyed later on, so also it existed in the past and again will be created, maintained, and destroyed in due course of time. Therefore, the systematic activities of the time factor are perpetual and eternal and cannot be stated to be false. The manifestation is temporary and occasional, but it is not false as claimed by the Mayavadi philosophers. Bandarat Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So we are hearing about the material creation. We heard about Brahma situated himself very soundly, strongly in spiritual life to be protected from the awkward circumstances that are created by the material energy, which exists right from the creation. And as we're hearing this last few verses, how there's creation, there's maintenance, destruction. Then there's creation, maintenance, destruction. Creation, maintenance, destruction. That cycle continues eternally. Meaning the cycle of awkwardness, the cycle of the material energy creating challenges, difficulties, is an eternal cycle. And the only aspect that protects us from these awkward positions is to become more and more stronger in our devotional practice, in our relationship with Krishna. The more we strengthen our Krishna consciousness, we rise above the material platform and we situate ourselves on the spiritual platform. When you situate yourself on the spiritual platform, you are now shielding and protecting yourself from the awkwardness of the material nature. Not that it does not impact you, but the impact is very, very minimal. You do not experience the impact like the materialists experiencing the impact. Just like Maharaj Parikshit, for example, the greatest change was death. The most graphical form of change is death, because death nullifies everything that you accumulated. Maharaj Parikshit, even though the snake bird came and burnt his body, he was not impacted at all. He totally transcended himself above the material plane. So externally, even though the firebird or the snake bird burnt his body and he would have experienced that pain, he did not experience any difficulty. Why? Because through his Krishna consciousness, he rose above the material nature. So that is how we are able to shield ourselves through the practice of Krishna consciousness. Right, let us take any questions that one may have. Bafana says, I have talked so much about time that I have concluded that it is God undoubtedly because it overwhelmed my consciousness to realize how king time is and cannot be separated to all our language. I am flabbergasted that what we read here in about time somewhat speaks to my realization even before I heard it in the scientific expression by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Yes. And fasten your seatbelt, Bafana, because we haven't even touched and scraped the surface. Time will be expanded, time will be explained from its most minutest to the most biggest manifestation of time. What the scientists are trying to understand and research and still not come to a conclusive conclusion, the Bhagavatam is already presenting that. So, yes, it is a very powerful force that is with us, will always be with us, and that is a wonderful opportunity to remember Krishna. We need to remind ourselves that time is Krishna so that we can remember Krishna. And in this way, the more we are reminding ourselves of the time factor and we seeing the influence of time, the power of time, and reflecting that that is Krishna, we can always keep ourselves in association of Krishna. Rufana says, thanks for the purport in text 11. Fascinated by the explanation of time. It's like illumination and high experience. Hare Prabhu, Hare Krishna. With the presence of time, yes, I see it. It will take everything. And Rasaraj Prabhu says, kindly comment on the use of the word spake, often used in Roman philosophy. We'll have to ask the Romans and do some research on that, of the word spake. We will do some research next week and try to share if there's anything related to the word spake. Because generally, according to spake is it's simply an archaic or old-fashioned past tense form of verb to speak. So basically, God spake, like when you say somebody spoke, it's basically related to that. But we'll see if there's anything specific. Prabhupada obviously uses that word. We'll see if there's anything specific we can find. We'll keep that for next week. Shamananda Prabhu, thanks Prabhu Maharaji for a nice class. Maya giving disturbance to Brahma right at the start of creation. Yes, we can try to remember. That is when somebody comes and complains to you. Yeah, this is like this is like that, it's like that. This is so many issues. Just share with them. No surprise. No surprise. If Brahma, right at the beginning where there's no one, right? It's just him and the lotus and the wind and the water. Here we got so many living entities and so many elements already to create disturbance. Brahma is alone. And when you think you're alone, you think you're okay, you're safe. Hey, nobody here. Thank God, I'm alone now. I won't have any disturbance. Well, sorry to burst your bubble. It ain't like that. Even if you're alone like Brahma in the whole creation, guess what? There's going to be disturbance. Now, that is empowering. That is empowering. Why? Because now you do not have a utopian understanding of difficulty, of awkwardness, of challenges in this material world. You have a very sober, eternal, authentic understanding of the nature of material creation. The fact that we're in it means we're going to experience it. We're going to experience the awkwardness. So now, with that understanding, I try to live in a Krishna conscious way, knowing that eventually I'm going to leave this awkwardness. I'm going to come out of this awkwardness by going into that environment that does not have any awkwardness. That environment where every word is a song, where every step is a dance, and where every day is a festival. That's the environment that Prabhupada wants to attract us all. And that's the environment we should be fully convinced, fully committed to manifesting in our lives. Through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, through the power of chanting the holy names. Time factor, really amazing. Very intricate, technical. Simply, we see it as Krishna. Yes, certain of these things in the Bhagavatam, time factor, the material creation, it's all that as we get to the 5th canto, the universe goes beyond my head. So we read it, at least I read it, I keep it on the back burner and know that the details are there. If somebody like Sadaputta and all these great scientific minds, they can obviously delve into it and start to and put pieces together and get into the whole thing. For me, yes, creation can become very slug. In Brahma Samhita is a little more easier to understand and grasp. But when all the other planets and we associate with it and understand that it's there for those that want to really get into the creation and time. Madala Shara Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful Krishna Kathas. Was so very technical, so much knowledge in 14 slokas. Yes. And this section obviously ends like this because next week's section is now the whole expansion of destruction and time. So I didn't want to get into this section and break the section on its own. It is difficult to be aware of time at every moment, but if done, it's achieving Krishna's constant association. How wonderful. Yes. The first part you mentioned is very true. To remember Krishna, or to at least remember that time is Krishna's energy. And that goes with everything. The reason why a pure devotee is able to see Krishna everywhere is not because of these mechanical ways to remember Krishna. For example, Krishna says, when you see the sun and the moon, you see my eyes. So it's not that a pure devotee is able to see Krishna like that because he's mechanically trying to remember Krishna. The reason a pure devotee sees Krishna everywhere because he's in love with Krishna. Now, how does one who is not in love with Krishna, not insanely in love with Krishna, doesn't have intense affection to Krishna, at least knows that Krishna is there, how does he remember Krishna? So he remembers Krishna through these mechanical ways that, time is actually Krishna. And because time is Krishna, and I'm influenced by time, I'm really at every moment connected to Krishna. How wonderful, how powerful, how empowering. So it's like someone to say, it's like I would say, I don't have time. You are with Krishna. That time went so fast. I was with Krishna. The time is coming. That means I'm with Krishna. So in all these aspects of time, if we constantly remind each other, we can share with others about time. And therefore, we're sharing about Krishna. We can remember ourselves as we influenced by time, and we're remembering Krishna. In this way, we can become more and more Krishna conscious. So that is why Krishna is appearing in these different features and forms, so that we can constantly remember him. Rasaraj Prabhu, thank you. Welcome back to you and Madaji. Missed the classes for a month. Yes. Today we went out on Harinam. And I said, I have to have class because I was also missing it to the festivals and traveling out. So yes, next week also one had to do a program, and I told the devotee, no, schedule a program on Sunday. We need to associate with the Bhagavatam. Missing the Bhagavatam, missing hearing the Bhagavatam. So we will definitely have class next week as well. And continue until if there's a festival, then it's okay. But yes, we'll try. Thank you very much for everyone's presence. Please note, time is up. And that means we associate with Krishna, we're remembering Krishna. Anytime you hear the word time equals Krishna. So try to remember that. And let's see how that manifests in our consciousness more and more and more. Pantrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Pramanande Hari Hari Bo.